Hi there. This is part 2 of my pregnancy series. The first video is already in my channel, and the name is my experience with my pregnancy and my labor. And today I'm going to be talking about my experience with my recovery and my breastfeeding. So if you haven't seen the other video, I invite you to do so because I'm gonna continue from there. And I just want to say, as I said in the other video, that this is a very personal experience, that I am a very private person. I wouldn't probably be sharing this if I didn't think this could benefit someone. I just want this to be educational because when I went through all of this, I thought like I would have preferred to know all of this, to be more prepared mentally and physically. So I just want to give you that piece of information. I just want you to know my experience in case it can help. Everyone's experience might be different, right? But if it can help someone, I would like to help. If you're the kind of person that likes to prepare and likes to know everything that they should expect, I invite you to watch this video. If you're the kind of person that gets anxious, I would recommend that you don't watch it because I will give a lot of details. So if you don't want to worry about things, if you're going through your pregnancy and you don't want to worry about things, I will recommend you don't watch it, okay? So first, I'm gonna talk about my recovery. So in the other video, I was explaining that I had a vaginal birth and I had a lot of tears. So when I checked the report, it said that I had like level 2 tears, or like second-degree tears, and I also lost a lot of blood during delivery. The doctor was there for like an hour plus stitching me. I didn't know exactly what's going on. They made me feel very comfortable. I had the epidural, so I couldn't feel a thing. And I asked like how many stitches they were giving me, and he told me that they don't really count. So I just like, okay. So when he finished, I was taken to the recovery room, and I had all of these dressing, and because of the stitches, and they told me that I had to change it every so often, and they told me that I had to go and pee by myself on the bathroom in a few hours. They would give me like 6 hours or so to do so. So they helped me to get in the bed. By then I couldn't feel a thing because I was still under the epidural. But once the epidural started wearing off, it was very uncomfortable and very painful. I was under medication all the time. Every 6 hours, the nurse would come to the room with 6 pills. 4 of them were 2 doses of painkillers, and the other ones were a laxative. So every so often I had to go to the bathroom and change the dressing. It would have a pad, a cold compress, witch hazel pads, and I would use an anesthetic spray also. And I would do that every single time I went to the bathroom, and it was very uncomfortable to change all of that, even though the nurse was there to help me all the time. And it was very uncomfortable to just pee. It was very painful because of the stitches. And something that was very, very frustrating is that because of labor, because all of the area is affected, the pelvic area is affected, all of those muscles that we usually use to hold on when we want to pee, they are very affected and they are very weak, and I had no control over anything. And this is totally normal. It is expected for like 2 weeks to be like that, where you try to go to the bathroom, try to go to pee, and when you get there, it's already done. You have no control over that. The same thing with everything, gas and also poop. So it is very, very frustrating. I didn't know this. I didn't know what was going on with me, but later on I read that at least for 2 weeks it's normal. And again, this is why you have to do some exercises and pay attention to the area to try and build up that strength again, because then later on, if you don't, you can suffer from incontinence. After I gave birth, I was a full day at the hospital, and then they let me go home. I came home with the same protocols, and once I get home, my house is a 2-story house, so I have to go up the stairs, and it was really hard to do so with all of the pain, with all of the uncomfortability that I had. But yeah, I did at my pace, and I don't think I went down the stairs for like a week or so. I was just laying down on my bed. I wouldn't leave the bed unless I needed to go to the bathroom or shower. Everything was brought to me, all the food, the baby, everything I needed was brought to me because I could barely move. Even though I was still in medications every 6 hours, it felt really uncomfortable. When I was sitting, and I sat for a long time because I was breastfeeding, or when I was about to leave the bed or come back to the bed, and it's really uncomfortable in the pelvic area because of all of the stitches, all the pressure that I was putting there just by being seated, by trying to raise from the bed or sit on the bed, and it was very painful. They gave me some deadlines, kind of, and they told me you're gonna be bleeding for 4 to 6 weeks, you're gonna be healing for 4 to 6 weeks, so we expect the stitches to go away on their own, to dry up by week number 6 or so. And the time passed and I couldn't feel anything. I was feeling exactly the same. I could barely walk. It was very uncomfortable all the time. It was very painful. At least for the bleeding, I can say that around week number 2 I stopped bleeding, and it has to do with how your uterus is healing, how quick it healed, so that was a good thing. But then the stitches, I couldn't feel any progress at all. By week 4 I was very worried about it, and I was on maternity leave from my full-time job, and I only had 6 weeks off. I started to wonder if I was going to be recovered by then when I had to get back to work. So I ended up calling the hospital, and even though I had an appointment, a follow-up appointment, I got another appointment before that one because I couldn't wait. I wanted to know what was going on with me. Why was I feeling like I wasn't recovering properly? And when the doctor saw me, she told me that my stitches weren't really healing as expected, and there was one specifically that was in the urethra and very deep and wasn't healing, and was very inflamed, and it was causing a lot of pain. And she just caught it, and that helped me a lot. She also asked me to do Epsom salt baths, and just to get in the bath, relax, let everything go, because I needed to manage all of the stress that I was going through. And I don't know if that really helped. I actually felt after the bath that area felt very tight, so I'm not sure if it was helping, but I kept doing that. And the other thing that the doctor asked me to do was to sleep more. So at the beginning I was sleeping during the day. I slept during the night, but I was sleeping as well during the day while the baby was sleeping. But with time I started getting used to the rhythm of it all, and I stopped sleeping during the day. So the doctor asked me to do that, and I did. I did that a few times, and finally, after like 1 week after that, I started feeling a difference. So this was a very difficult time for me. All of this pain brought a lot of frustration because I wasn't expecting any of this. I thought I had a vaginal birth and I was going to recover so quickly, and that the time frame was 4 weeks and I was going to be out and about, and it didn't happen that way. This really hit me. Feeling that way all the time really hit me, and I wasn't doing so well emotionally speaking. On top of all of that pain and all of that frustration and expectancy, I was breastfeeding. And when you think about breastfeeding, if you haven't done it before, you might think it's something natural. It should be intuitive. And I had heard what some people said. People with experience, they always said it was difficult, but they didn't give me any details. And I think that people should be more educated about this, to be prepared, educated before they go into breastfeeding, because there are a lot of resources out there that I ended up using, but it was after I started breastfeeding and I went through so many things. So it's really difficult, yes, but you won't know until you try it. It's very frustrating. It's very time consuming. There are so many things to learn. Not only the mom, but also the baby has to learn how to do it properly. There are a lot of things to try to just find out what works for you. So a lot of patience is required. And even though people will tell you it shouldn't be painful, at least at the beginning, it will be painful. In my case, I thought like, oh, my baby knew what she had to do right away. When I tried to breastfeed her the first time, she actually hurt me, and she knew what to do, where to go and all, but she was like so desperate that she actually hurt me, and she bruised my nipple and I was bleeding, and that had to heal, and it was very, very painful. And if I was using the same breast, it was really hard for it to heal, and it would hurt every time that I would feed her with that breast. So that is one thing. The baby can actually hurt you. The baby can actually bite you. The baby might not latch properly, and it will hurt if the baby doesn't do that correctly. I used to lean to the front because my baby wouldn't like find the breast, and that's something also that I shouldn't have been doing. It's better if you're just relaxed, lying to the back. And there are so many things that you don't think about and that you have to read, and you need people that know about the topic to help you. I started seeing a lactation consultant, several lactation consultants, and I went to the doctor like 2 to 3 times for 2 weeks because of that, because I had issues with the breastfeeding, and on top of that, because the baby was underweight. And something with breastfeeding is that you don't know if the baby is getting enough milk, because you don't know how many ounces the baby is drinking. If you are pumping, you will have an idea about how much milk you will produce in each breast at a time, and you will also know like when they are full because of the way they feel, and when they are empty because of the way they feel. But at the same time, it's not an exact science. You will not know for sure if the baby is feeding properly, or the correct amount for the age. So it was very challenging on that matter as well, and it was also very frustrating. And I went to these appointments, and they would weigh the baby, and they would ask me to feed the baby, and they would see what I was doing, and they would correct me, and then I had to do the same at home. And sometimes even what they told me wasn't really working, so I had to look for information on my own. Thankfully, I had friends that reached out to me, and they offered a lot of information that they could find, videos and other materials that I could use, so I could try different things and see what worked for me and my baby. And eventually I figured it out. But it's very time consuming. You need a lot of patience. It's very tiring as well. You would think like, oh, you're just sitting there, the baby is drinking the milk, you're not doing anything really, but it's really tiring being there, sitting, the milk production, and the fact that the baby is drinking milk from you. It makes you burn calories somehow, and it's very tiring, and you get very hungry, you get very thirsty. So at least I would recommend to have a bottle of water nearby all the time. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots and lots of water, because that will help with the milk production. And at the beginning, the first week or the first 2 weeks, I was completely prepared because I knew about the thirst and the hunger. And before I went to sleep, my husband and I would prepare my nightstand with a lot of snacks and water. And we would both wake up when the baby needed to be fed, and I would eat almost every time. But then it's something that's overwhelming and it's tiring, and with time we just forgot about the snacks. I just have my water, and everything becomes just like that. You just do it because you have to. It's very hard to wake up at night against your will, and you have to get used to it. Thankfully, somehow we get used to it. We wake up automatically, but it's very hard to do so. The other thing is that sitting for such a long time, it will take a toll on your body. I made a post about this the other day on Instagram and Facebook about exercises I hope I had done during my pregnancy, because during my pregnancy I just focused on being strong for the delivery, but I didn't think about what happens after the delivery. So I wasn't doing a lot of upper body exercises, and I think that if I had, I wouldn't be suffering so much neck, shoulder, and upper back pain as I am right now. Because even though I have the Boppy, that pillow that you use for lactation, which was one of the best gifts that I got, and it helps a lot, even though you have that, still the posture is not the best. You're looking down a lot of the time because you're looking at your baby, or you're trying to accommodate the baby, see what the baby's doing. So all of that makes your neck, shoulder, and upper back hurt. There are a lot of products in the market that can help with this, so I'm gonna mention a few. For the nipple pain, for example, there is a lanolin cream that you can use. It's very good, and it helps with the sensitivity, or it just helps with overall pain. And then there are these gel pads, like they are very similar to the ones used for the eyes, that you can even put in the fridge, and they have a cooling sensation. They also help with the pain. And then the other thing is that there are these pads. It's like, I never thought I would be randomly wetting my shirts or my bras with milk, but it happens. So there are these pads. They are like any other kind of pads, like sanitary pads, and you just put them on your bra, and they help pick up all of the milk. so the bra, the shirt doesn't get wet. It can remain clean. So those are very good as well. Another thing that people used to tell me was like, you can pump, so you can give your nipples a break, and you can have your milk bank. And at the beginning, even pumping is really uncomfortable and it can be even painful. That one I think you can get used to quicker than breastfeeding itself. Right now I've been breastfeeding for 2 months. I think that after a month or so I learned what was best for me and for my baby, and my baby also learned how to latch on properly. And it took a lot of time, as I said. It was a very frustrating process. It was very painful. Sometimes I would be there breastfeeding my baby and I would be just crying because it was so painful and I didn't know what to do. It was very frustrating. I felt dumb, like so many people that do this, and why can't I do this? But no, if you go through the same thing, know that there's help out there and use those resources, because it's a process. There's a learning curve both for you and your baby. It takes time, and just don't give up. If you really want to do it right, don't give up and you will get it. So something else that I didn't know about and that still happens is that some ducts in the breast, they get clogged. It's an inflammation that happens, and sometimes you can be massaging the breast to produce more milk, to help the baby suck more, or to release that fatty part of the milk for the baby. And you can feel like some tissue is harder. So I would recommend not to massage that too much, because sometimes that gets inflamed. It could be one of those ducts that is clogged. It could get inflamed. And so what I've been doing, that I read online, and when I discussed it with the doctor told me to just keep doing what I was doing, was that I would make that breast that is hurting the priority. When breastfeeding, I would just empty the other one with the pump if the baby is not drinking from that one, and I would always use that breast for until it's empty for the baby. While the baby is sucking, it will help to unclog it. And on top of that, I used a lot of heat, so a heat pad, or in the shower, very hot water for a long time, or even a bath, and especially 15 minutes before the baby is fed. It helps a lot to unclog it. So also, if it's too painful, because for me it's really painful and it has happened several times, you can take a painkiller. And it makes me very desperate every time this happens, because that inflammation can worsen and it can even become an infection called mastitis, and then you will have to go to the doctor and get treated for that. But thankfully it hasn't gotten to that point for me. But I would recommend that you follow these things if you go through that. As you see, it's not easy. It's very hard, and there's a lot of pain involved. And for me, the pain was like the worst thing. It triggered my emotions, and I wasn't feeling emotionally well. And people talk about the baby blues. They talk about postpartum depression, and that's the other thing. I thought that it was caused because of body image. I thought it was caused because moms become overwhelmed because their routine is altered and they feel like they're not capable. And I knew those things weren't going to happen with me, but in my case, my emotions were triggered because of the hormones, of course. They're all over the place. And on top of that, I was in pain all the time for a really long time, and it was very frustrating for me. I am very sensitive to pain. What could be a level 2 or 3 pain for someone, it might be a 7 or 8 for me. So for me, it was really hard to go through all of this, and it made me like really down. And yeah, my husband would make me go out and walk, and it really helped, even though I didn't feel like it, but I did most of the time. And it really helps to get some exercise. If you don't want to really walk, or you can't for some reason, even just go out, even if it's in the car. It will really help to just get out of the house and see something different. If these feelings persist for more than 2 weeks, it might be something serious, so don't hesitate to look for help. Discuss this with your physician, with your OB, and get help. There's no shame in getting help. So I hope this video was helpful, was educational. I hope that if you are pregnant or are planning to become pregnant, it can help you. If you know someone that it might help, please share it. And thank you for watching, for hanging in there with me. I would love you to subscribe if you would like to, and also you can follow me in Instagram or Facebook at Fit with Danish.